Welcome back to the Man the Wave podcast. Hopefully, this isn't your first time tuning in because I just welcome you back and not welcoming you for the first time. But I see we have quite a few numbers tuning in. I imagine that has something to do with the late afternoon rumor that has kind of taken the college baseball world by the throat, for lack of better wording. Andrew, it's funny. This weekend, I was thinking to myself, we haven't done this for 2 weeks now. You were in Boston, that we'll get to in just a second. So we didn't do this last Monday, even though we tried to do it every single Monday. You really blew it on that one, but I think it was a down 13 or 12 or so days for college baseball, somewhere in there. And as we're going to get into tonight, I think the last 48 to 72 hours have really delivered in terms of college baseball news, nuggets, some things that we're hearing. What a great time for us to do. I feel like there are certain moments in this, I think, month now that we've been doing this where we think, what a great time to do this right on Monday evening, because it feels like
Yeah.
a lot of news likes to come out Monday afternoon. And here we are. We'll get into it all in a little bit. Of course, I'm talking about Tony Vitello. Again, we'll get into it a little bit. But Andrew, first off, what's up with you?
I'm clean shaven. I got a haircut. I don't look homeless anymore. I guess that's one
Well,
prop. There's something that San Francisco and I had in common. Homeless.
okay.
But yeah, I've been traveling. I was in Boston this past weekend for the sights and scenes of things. But yeah, I was in Boston. I got to enjoy that. Got to be talking to a lot of college coaches the last few weeks now. We're getting closer. I was looking at my schedule today on my flight back. Whenever I wasn't clutching onto my seat because I hate flying. Um, I was looking at my schedule, seeing how close I am to watching some scrimmages, and I am 3 weeks away now, October 18th. FAU and Miami
Mm-hmm.
down at the light, and I will be there.
It feels like it likes to trickle down from the Northeast, and then once it reaches where you're at now in Florida, it feels like it's almost college baseball season with the scrimmages that are happening. What feels like every day, of course, practices are either in full swing or very close to full swing across the country, and it's great to see so many scrimmages. There were a ton this weekend that we'll delve into in just a little bit. Um, Andrew, I did have a quick question. What airline were you flying with?
Well, as you and some people know about my fun on Thursday and Friday, I did fly JetBlue. Um,
What and what? Okay, I think I've heard of JetBlue, but what is that? Am I exposing myself as a poor by asking what JetBlue is, or am I calling you like low
no,
class
you're
because I'm
lucky because it feels like every time I go on JetBlue, anyone here has like, if anyone here works for JetBlue, here's my grievance to you. The, the last three times I've flown with you, 2021, I tear my UCL. I am in an arm brace. I'm going back to school after surgery, and we're about to take off. And right as we're about to lift off, the pilot slams on the emergency brakes. I'm in a brace, so my first reaction is this, and that hurts my arm even more. Um, the second time, I was stuck on the tarmac for 4 hours because we were waiting for one employee to show up to show up, literally just to show up. They said we couldn't leave yet because we cannot work this 45-minute flight from Atlanta to Tampa because we only have X amount of flight. It was dumb. And then this last one. Um my flight was early on Thursday. I flew up to Boston. I get to Boston. I'm at the carousel. I packed this big bag. That bag did not make it to Boston. Um,
that reminds me. I can't wait to circle back to that.
they told me, okay, yes, your bag will be there at 8 a.m. Your bag will be there 8 a.m. Next day. I'm like, okay, cool. I have a rehearsal dinner to go to. I was there for a wedding. I did squeeze in some baseball stuff, but I was there for a wedding. So I'm like, okay, cool. 8 a.m. comes around. I'm awake. I'm at the front desk. Said, hey, is there anyone here with my bag? Nope. No, there's not. Okay. I get this thing. They have your track. It's like track your iPhone, but track your suitcase. Okay, I'll be here at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. comes rolling around. I'm at Northeastern at this point. I'm in Fenway. Northeastern's in Fenway. I get there, nothing. Call, nothing. 2 p.m. comes around. I'm back. Hey, my bag was supposed to be dropped off now. Nothing. I'm just making myself look like an idiot.
I can't wait to circle back.
4 p.m. comes around. I'm panicking now. I'm panicking. I'm like, I need a suit. I am wearing the same clothes that I've worn for the last 2 days now, or for the last day now. Please, like,
good save. Just one day.
Yeah, one day. I start walking to Joseph A. Banks. I walk in there. I get a call. Hey, I'm going to be there with your suitcase in 10 minutes. And it ended at 4 p.m. My bag did make it back to West Palm Beach with me. I just self-leaked my location a little. But, yeah, my bag is on my bed. Haven't unpacked yet. But, yeah, you have a comment about me checking a bag.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in reverse order of the comments, and they're gonna go from nice to least nice. The nicest one, I can't imagine the stresses of walking into a Joseph A. Bank anywhere in the country, let alone in Boston, because I think that a bottle of water is overpriced in Boston. It's a rich person area, especially downtown Boston. But let's see, what are you gonna say?
When we talk about my time in Boston after this, we can get there.
Great. Excellent. So I can imagine you walking onto what, Newberry Street, maybe, and, oh, look at me. I'm going to go buy something for cheap. Not going to happen. So I'm going to resonate with you there a little bit and say, you know what, Andrew, that's a touching story. I'm going to go back a little bit. And I think I'm going to skip back to bullet point 1 and then touch on number 2. Bullet point number 1, anybody, and I understand why you might want to check a bag. I understand why it's a good idea. Maybe you want to check your golf clubs. I understand that. I get why you want to check a bag, because then you want to have more room to, when you buy things. You bought a very nice glass that you just showed me, among other things. You had room in your other bags that you were able to bring on the plane. However, it is 2025, and if you are checking a bag, maybe you were forced into it. I don't know, but let's say that you and somebody else are traveling together, and that's just how it goes. If you're checking a bag, you are being extremely selfish, because you're saying, hey, you know what? When these people lose my luggage, it's now your problem too, because we were going to go leave the airport together and we were going to go do this. We are staying right here and we're dealing with this together. And you deserve it for trusting other people with your bag. Notoriously happens. I don't care if it's once out of every 1,000,000 times. That is too many times for these people to lose my luggage. I get on the plane with everything I have. I walk off the plane with everything I have. The only way I don't leave with my luggage is if the plane explodes like in Lost into 2 pieces and I land on one side of the beach and my luggage is on the other. And if that happens, I don't really care if I have my luggage. So you deserve that. But the second piece of that,
there's more.
Because the problem isn't you, Andrew. The problem is the people who do the checking of the bags. There's no reliability there. What trust do I have in it? Almost zero. My problem is if they have the wherewithal to be able to track your bag after they've lost it, you got to be kidding me. You can track it after you lose it. How about you track it before you lose it? How about you keep track of my luggage before you lose it? Put a tracking number on that. Tell me where it is. Don't say, oh, it's missing. How does that happen? I don't. It's 101. And these people who handle the bags, I don't know the day-to-day. I won't put myself in those shoes. But you can't have that many responsibilities, can you?
So I will say this.
Go ahead.
I went from Palm Beach, self-docs again, to New York, JFK, my least favorite airport ever. And that's I'm originally from New York. Fun fact, everyone. I went from PBI to JFK, JFK to Logan. My bag was never in JFK, was never in New York the same time that I was in New York. It never got on the plane that I was going to, which is like mind-boggling. So, end of that. Let's move on, please.
But I circle back. You still deserve it. I have sympathy for you, but you absolutely deserve it for ever checking a bag. And Andrew, was it necessary? Did you absolutely have to check a bag? Can you at least provide insight on that?
Yes, yes. I had to bring suit jackets because, yeah.
Wear
So
it on the plane. Wear it on the plane.
no, I'm not one of those people. I'm gonna have to turn into one of those people at some point, but no.
It's kind of a power move if you dress nice on the plane.
So
That used to
okay,
be the status quo. You look like DB Cooper. Nice reference.
yeah, yeah. I'll just disappear next time. I'll have to fix that.
I'm glad you got that, Drew. Well,
Thank you.
enough beating around the bush about it. Obviously, you were a victim and a well-deserved one. How was the rest of your time in Boston, Andrew? Enlighten us.
The rest of the time in Boston was great. I am from the Northeast, kind of. I'm from New York, but this is my first time to Boston, and I had the pleasure of talking to one of the best stories in college baseball last year. Mike Lavin, the head coach of the Northeastern Huskies last year. They were fortunate to win the CAA. They were a 2 seed in the Tallahassee region where they ran into a very hot Mississippi State team, and they didn't get to play FSU. But last year they went 49-11. They were a powerhouse last year. They were probably one of the best, not one of the best. They probably were the best story in college baseball last year. I got to sat down, talk with head coach Mike Lavin, brother of famous Mets, Braves, left-handed pitcher Tom Glavine. If you didn't
I
know.
did not know that. That's a nice nugget. It's weird you started with Mets and not Braves, but go ahead.
They went 49-11 last year. They had that big 27-game winning streak that everyone was talking about at one point. They really ran college baseball at one point. They're one of the best teams no one's really heard of last year. Unless you do know ball like me and you, we've been talking about Northeastern for the last couple of years. And Mike Lavin's, this is going into his 12th year. He's taken Northeastern to 4 regional appearances, and the ballpark is a very, very cool ballpark. They're one of 5 college baseball or Division I programs that have to share their field. Yes.
Is Presbyterian another one of those?
Yes.
That was all I wanted. I wanted to jump in before you said it. Now I want you to tell us the other 4.
I saw it on Twitter and they were right. It's Canisius in New York.
That's actually what I was thinking of. So fix that. But
Canisius, because I took a visit there. Minnesota's indoor. Minnesota's indoor. Presbyterian is one of them, and it's a couple more up north. But I was very impressed with. I got to stick around for practice. Got to see them scrimmage a little off the machine. Got to see the competitiveness. Got to see how he runs his practices. And that man, Coach Glavine, like I'd run through a wall for him. That man is the definition of like you can tell he's from Massachusetts just by the way he like speaks. He's coming off of a career year at he is coming off a career year at Northeastern where he saw a program high 6 kids drafted. 6 kids drafted. He is losing his whole starting rotation. A key midweek pitcher, a couple bullpen arms, a bunch of his lineup is gone, and we basically just sat there talking about how it's not going to be woe is me. Like the kids that are wanting the opportunity and that Coach Glavine has spoken to about the opportunity with, like, this is your time to prove it. I did ask him can we maybe get some names? And he said, I can't tell you right now because it's only week 3. If we go back and talk about this October 18th against Dartmouth, yeah, 100%. I can maybe give you some names. But this is a team that they're returning a lot of young guys that saw limited action, but it's not going to be the same 49-11 team that we saw this last year. But Coach Glavine, he's got a lot of experience winning there. This is 20th year at Northeastern now. He coached with Coach McPhee, their previous head coach. He took over for him. But we talked about, leads into my next point that we're going to talk about tonight, playing in the North and the South. This is a team that they end up going to play LSU. They're going to play LSU in Dartmouth in a round robin this year at or in Baton Rouge. He doesn't know how that got leaked out. He wasn't pleased, I will say that.
I don't believe I had heard that, so I think you just leaked it.
No, someone leaked it out before LSU released their whole schedule, and yeah. So back to what I was saying. Sorry. This is a team that they don't play their first home game until the middle of March. March 14th this last year, they had their first home series against Harvard. They go down. One thing I will talk about, they're going to Arizona this year. They are going to play in the Surprise Desert Invitational with Grand Canyon this year. It's Grand Canyon and 2 Big Ten teams, I think, are going down to play. It's going to be a lot of traveling for them, he said. This is a team that he believes it gets better being on the road because you get to see how the guys handle themselves, how they bond and whatnot. But this is a team, they're one of the few teams that gets to play a major league team. Did you know that, Noah?
I did know that. They have beaten the Red Sox a few times.
Yes, they play the Boston Red Sox. The Minnesota Twins play the Minnesota Golden Gophers because they're also in that same boat of coming up or coming down south. But where we talk about, I think a lot of people talked about this last year with Jay Johnson and LSU with scheduling opponents and how they want LSU to play a tougher schedule, but it's not. It's about 50-50. It's not Jay going to some of these teams from up north and be like, hey, do you want to come down here? It's a little bit of both. Like, you're looking for good competition and you're looking to go south, so you are able to play in some warm. I mean, Baton Rouge in February is not the warmest, but you get to have some nice weather and you're able to compete at some very nice environments. I talked to Coach Glavin about going to the box this year, and he said, like that's going to be early adversity right off the bat. You're going from this last year, the biggest crowd they played in front of, I think, was maybe San Diego State. Or I mean, the spring training game against Boston. Hawaii, they went to Honolulu. So at Hawaii or at San Diego State last year, those were probably two of the biggest crowds they've played in. This year, they're going to go play at the box where it'll be it probably will be a guarantee that nearly every seat in there is filled. So this is an early season game for them. So basketball will be playing. So basketball will be empty. Baseball will be in full swing because if you know LSU basketball, you just rather go watch LSU baseball. Just Coach Glavin said it's a good opportunity for the guys to get to play in nice weather, get to compete against some nice talent, win or lose. Like, we get to see how good we are. They might not go into LSU and go win 2 out of 3 or even win a game, but this is a true test to see how good they can really be. And we see it a lot with the North and the South because not everyone's fortunate like Minnesota where they can go play a game in the Vikings stadium.
And even Minnesota has had trouble with that in the last few years. U.S. Bank Stadium, anytime they have to do a renovation, when are the Vikings going to do renovation? Between the months of February and August, of course, starting as soon as they can, which happens to line up with when Minnesota would want to play a baseball game. But I think the root of when you say college baseball in the North versus the South, not to get all Civil War on you, is that it feels like a majority of the country is in the North when you think of it this way. Because for me, where do you draw the line, Andrew? I would say that I live in Nebraska. That's definitely a northern state as far as college baseball is concerned, because I think that Nebraska spends the first 4 to 6 or more weeks on the road. They have to find these tournaments to play in, usually in a state like Arizona and Surprise, or in a place like Texas where you go to Round Rock and Arlington and those sorts of places. Maybe you go to Jacksonville. All those places clearly very southern. It's much nicer there, as one would surmise based on basic geography. But then you get in the middle of the country. What's a place like Arkansas look like? They kind of remind me of the Cincinnati Reds, where you can count on them to be at home every opening weekend. But I believe last year they moved games around because of the threat of snow. So that's a southern school right there as far as the culture goes. They're in the SEC. They're as premier of a program as you can get in terms of benefiting from being in the SEC. But they face weather just like everybody else. And then you go up the road. You think of a school like Michigan. They went and played a conference game against Illinois in the state of Florida last year. That's how late into the season we got for them to be able to play a home game or a home series. It's very strange how there hasn't been more national conversation about moving the schedule back. I know that it's mostly a northern kind of conspiracy theory, and some Southerners will get kind of upset about it. And I understand you can't easily twitch your nose and move the schedule back because it is an academic calendar that you're dealing with. There's an MLB draft. There are summer leagues that would effectively go away if you move the baseball season too far back. You can't shorten the season. It's already, I would argue, short enough. I don't know what the solution is there. But when you say North versus South, I immediately think of, in the month of February, who's on the road and who's at home.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, take this in, for instance, Murray State. Murray State went to Omaha last year. They're in Kentucky. They're one of those teams where or they're in one of those states where it could snow or it doesn't snow. Last year, they opened up their is this in the – no. They open up in Missouri against Western Illinois. But that's a neutral game. They didn't play at Johnny Reagan Field. They go to Little Rock. They go to Oxford. They come back home. But they spent a lot of time on the road too. And they also started a little late too. I don't think they had some weather delays, but they were a team that played 25 games outside of the neutral games. They played 25 games on the road and only 21 at home. Is that because of conference scheduling? Yes. Yes, I know. But this is also Murray State, a program where they were probably being offered to come to someplace warmer where they can definitely get some training in, definitely get some good competition in. I know this for a fact. UMBC, Maryland, Baltimore County, they are going to FAU to open up the season this year. And they're coming down and spending the whole week in Boca, Florida, to get ready and get like used to the heat and be away from the snow for a little. So I think it's a good thing though for some of these teams up north, because we do get to see how they respond to it. And then when they get home, like Northeastern, they were 27-1 at home last year. They lost one game to Towson at home. And then this is a team that was away for the first month and a half. And then to respond by going 27-0 or 27-1 is really impressive.
Yeah, that's and they didn't schedule too easy early either. I know that Kansas State was in there for 2 games as well, and don't quote me. I'm going to throw out a date like April 9th and April 10th last year.
Yeah.
Is that spot on?
Let me double check.
I want you to check me on that. But I think that you mentioned Murray State, and when Murray State reached even the super regional round, but go ahead, Andrew. Was I right?
The 15th and the 16th of April.
Shoot, off by a week. But when Murray State reached Omaha, especially, I know I tweeted this and I thought it as well. There are 2 sides of the coin here. I'm an Iowa State fan, Andrew, as you know, and as many know. Iowa State famously does not have baseball and cut it in 2001. as a college baseball fan, as an Iowa State fan, those two are obviously conflicting. And I think, gosh, it would be great if Iowa State played college baseball. I thought that for quite a long time, and to an extent, I still do. But I understand why Iowa State does not have baseball. The
Yes.
reality is that if they started a program in 2026, how long would it take for them to become competitive, and what would competitive look like? I don't know the answers to those questions. I'm not an SEC guy. I don't do hypotheticals, but I know that it probably wouldn't look too good for the first few years. What would the fan support look like? How much time would Iowa State baseball have to spend on the road? I know how much time Iowa State softball spends on the road. It's a long time. When was the last time Iowa State softball did anything of relevance? Long time. Maybe things would be different for baseball. Again, SEC hypotheticals. On the other side of the coin, let me present my on the other side of the coin, Andrew. When I see Murray State, a program that's not exactly Midwest, you mentioned they're in Kentucky / Ohio. They're that weird river blend over there.
Yeah.
When you see a program like that have success out of the Missouri Valley Conference, a conference that has enjoyed a lot of success in the NCAA tournament with Oral Roberts as well a few years ago, it makes you wonder how programs in the Midwest who already have baseball are not able to succeed in some capacity. I don't know why they came to mind immediately, but Iowa, for example, is a program that has had a lot of talent over the years and to an extent disappointed when the eyes have been on them. You think of the Kansas schools. Kansas State has enjoyed some success in the NCAA tournament. The 2013 Super Regional against Oregon State comes to mind. Outside of that, they've made some regional runs. They were a few plays away from coming to Omaha a few years ago against Virginia. But outside of that, the Midwest has not exactly been a pinnacle of college baseball for really the better portion of 20 years. I think Wichita State had their run for a long time with Travis Vokalek, friend of the program, or not Vokalek, Travis Wykowski, friend of the program. And it's been a long time coming for a Midwest power like that. But you see Murray State go and reach the NCAA tournament. How do we not have something like that in the Midwest?
Yeah, I agree. Another point to bring up is the recruiting, where I'm glad you brought up Nebraska, as one of the best players in Nebraska is going over to Tennessee. What was his name again?
I forget his name. He's out of Scott over here. He's a pitcher.
I
Short name.
texted it to you.
It's like Bubba Day or something like that. It's a very short name, but
Dope. But let me find it. Nope.
there's certainly a trend of talent inside the state of Nebraska going elsewhere. And I did have a tweet that I think I've either said out loud or tweeted before where Nebraska, I think it's kind of they get a bad rap, at least locally, for not recruiting locally, because you can think of all the guys that don't play at Nebraska, like Camden, who goes by Camden now. I don't know if you saw that. Camden Kojal. He prefers Camden now. Among a few other guys, AJ Avasco at Kansas State, Braden Smith at Oklahoma State last year. None of those guys were really given it that much of a fair shot by Nebraska, from what I've been told. But they still do okay in the state. But at the same time, like I tweeted, the only state in the country where kids idolize players that are not on the home team is Nebraska. As a kid, if let's see, I think 2011, I don't know how old I would have been, 14 years ago, was that put me at 12, 13. If Ray Tanner at South Carolina had walked into my living room, I would have moved to Columbia, South Carolina. Pat Casey rolls into my living room, I would have moved to Corvallis, Oregon. If Tony Vitello walks in my living room right now, I will walk through broken glass to go play at Tennessee.
What about San Francisco?
We'll get into that a little bit later. The Giants don't recruit. Interesting aspect. But it's an interesting dynamic where kids in Nebraska literally spend more of their time when it comes to college baseball consumption watching teams not named Nebraska than Nebraska, and that is not the case for the other sports here.
Yeah, so I talked to Coach Glavin about this because I thought he did a phenomenal job of keeping the talent in the Northeast, keeping it close to home, because you have teams up in Massachusetts, you have Harvard, obviously Ivy League school, very tough to recruit because you're like academic first, like athletics like 30. And then you have Boston College. That's an ACC program like Northeastern is out recruiting Boston College at times. Last year, their program, they only had 2 kids from outside of the Northeast. You want to guess where those 2 kids were from?
I don't know why Florida came to mind. I'll go Florida and Texas, big states.
California, but the player has ties to the Boston area. And then Puerto Rico.
Oh, that was a trick question, but all right.
Thank you.
Territory.
Well, yeah, he's from the U.S. He's a United States territory guy. Bad Bunny, you know.
Good pull.
Good pull, yes. So I was talking to him about it, and he's like, look, like obviously the talent in down south is probably a little bit more better than it is up north. But something about being able to recruit from the Northeast is, depending on our budget, we are allowed to go see these guys and get to watch them play multiple times, because you get to know the area so well. Because Boston is like, you were in Massachusetts a few months ago, actually, Noah. You get to see the infrastructure.
Yeah.
You get to see the infrastructure of it. Like, it's somewhere where you can take the T. You can take the T, or you can drive around pretty easily around that Boston area. The drivers are crazy, though. Side point. But being able to go 3-4 hours to watch a kid throw, or watch them play multiple times in a year, getting to build that personal relationship with the kid, this isn't a call out to any SEC programs, but for SEC programs, they're mostly recruiting in the summer. They'll obviously check in with a sophomore, junior during their high school season, but a lot of the times these schools are recruiting in the summertime. These Power 4 schools are recruiting in the summertime, but during the fall and during the even the spring a little on bye weeks or less busier weeks, they can go out and watch multiple kids play that are only 2-3 hours away, because travel is a little bit more easier there.
The lone comment I have on that is, and it's pretty much exactly what you were alluding to, Andrew. The drive between Storrs, Connecticut, and Boston at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon is perhaps the most beautiful drive in the country. I would take it over anybody else.
Oh, I thought you were about to go on about it.
No, that was it.
No, that's the one come away. I did come with it. Boston was very beautiful. Very beautiful. I got to go to Fenway as well. I got to go to Fenway as well. It's beautiful. I got to tour it. Got to go sit on top of the Green Monster. Just absolutely stunning. So that's a baseball bucket list for anyone.
Drew, were you there on the Friday when they walked it off, or no?
No. I was at Joseph A. Banks yelling and wondering where the frick was my brow. No, I went Sunday.
Okay.
I went Sunday. I got a good view of former Big 12 TCU pitcher Peyton Toll. I got to see. I'm trying to think who else. Spencer Torkelson, the former Arizona State standout, did not play.
Number 1 overall pick, Spencer Torkelson.
I'm trying to think of other colleges I know. I didn't get to see LSU's superstar Alex Bregman. I guess he had the flu or something. Who else? But yeah, Boston was beautiful. Northeastern, Mike Glavin's building a really good program up there, and it made me it opened my eyes. The one thing he said to me was, I love seeing and hearing that people want to come up and talk to me about our program, because we are in a weird part of the country where college baseball isn't really first, especially in a place like Boston. I don't know that. I'm going to try and look it up, actually. But you ever heard that? It's not really a joke, but if you're born in 2008, you've already gone to 12 championship parades.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that before, yeah.
Yes. So it's he said this last year. Everyone talking about us, like us being talked about locally, like it was a really good boost for the stadium, or not for the stadium, for the team, for the university. And I did want to. I'm gonna share my screen here. Let me pull it up first. But this is what their baseball field looks like when it is. Is that it? Yes, it is. This is what it looks like when. This is back in 2016, so it's got its old logo, but it looks like this is like pretty much the same. Oh, I could have just clicked out. This is what it looks like. Let me share my screen quickly. Share screen. Allow. Window. Share. Let me add it to the screen. I'm gonna kick me off.
We are Andrew can't hear y'all. There you go, Andrew. We're looking at it now. I love the how it's you got that straight out to dead center. I love that look.
Okay, wait. So this is my favorite part, actually. So let me zoom in. This house. Can I zoom in? No. I'm gonna zoom in though. I'll find a way. This house right here is white. It didn't zoom in. I don't care. So this house right here is white. Coach Glavin says to me, we have this advantage, and coaches think like I own this house. We've tried asking this homeowner like to paint their house a different color because it's white. Like, can you please just get rid of it? And they're like, no, it's white. It's beautiful like that. And it's like, no. From where it looks, like looking at the mound, it's not like directly behind the pitcher, but if you had a weird throwing like Chris Sale kind of pitcher, it would really like maybe mess with them. But other than that, no.
That's a good piece right there. That might be the most interesting tidbit that you picked up on out there. I'm glad we paid for you to fly out there for that.
With our Big 12 Venmo card?
You can always put it on the Big 12 card. That's going to be so much fun to spend. I'll break that out on a future show, especially when we talk more Big 12. This isn't a very Big 12 friendly show, but I'm a Big 12 guy. Andrew, moving on a little bit, as we alluded to, and in fact, you got a little piece of, maybe not an inter-squad versus inter-squad, but scrimmages are fully upon us. I'm a little bit asleep at the wheel here, so why don't you take the lead? Walk us through some of the scrimmages that you observed, at least through Twitter or what you've heard this week.
So the big one obviously happened in Round Rock. The Texas and Texas Tech scrimmage. Texas plays their two scrimmages back to back this year. They got Lamar this week, where College Baseball Central will be there. Our fellow own Jake McKeever will be there with D1's Kendall Rogers. Actually, they'll be there.
Are they going together?
I don't know. They're going together, but
I know the answer.
But Texas did win that scrimmage, but as I am good, we'll talk about it later. But Texas won that scrimmage 9-3 in 12 innings. The one big key that I was told from multiple sources and people there was that Texas pitching is legit. I was still working on getting names on who was there throwing for them, because obviously I didn't think they were going to throw everyone like right out of the gate. But Carson Tenney is going to be a star for them. We got to see Brett Crossland throw for the Longhorns, and this is like a freshman that is ridiculously tall. Like, he is going to be a superstar for the Longhorns this year. He has that potential to be like Dylan Volantis. Cal Higgins also threw the Western Kentucky transfer, but the big name obviously is going to be Carson Tenney for this Texas lineup. Carson Tinney and Aiden Robbins, both transferring in from their schools. These are two kids that are going to most likely be all SEC players and be in talks to maybe be all Americans. Like those two kids being added to a very dangerous Texas lineup is going to be star power. Josh Livingston from Wichita State, his swing's really good. He'll be a good mix for Texas. And then Texas Tech, it's going to be interesting again for Texas Tech. I mean, Noah, you covered, or you cover the Big 12 a little bit more than I do. So you can maybe harp on that a little bit more about you can maybe talk about that a little bit more. You might hear my dog bark in a minute, but Texas Tech's going to struggle again this year. I understand this Texas team is going to be probably the number 1 or number 2 preseason ranking, but Texas Tech, like outside of a few hits that from what I saw on social media, they did not look the greatest. We're maybe looking at another down year in Lubbock. At that time, you'll be thinking, football's coming up. So for Texas Tech fans, this is what I got for you. Enjoy football season as it lasts. They're top 10 in the country now in football?
I don't think they're quite top 10 because the AP doesn't like the Big 12. Koki Riley has it in for them. But I would say with Texas Tech, that's a program that's, of course, struggled the last few years. And I can't speak to too much what Texas Tech's roster is going to look like. I know they lost a few key pieces to the portal last year, as you may expect for a program that's not fallen off a little bit, but lost their way in this new Big 12, where you might expect a program like Texas Tech to take advantage of the absence of Oklahoma and Texas, and they just have not done that yet. But with Tim Tadlock, fantastic head coach, been there a long time. He has a lifelong contract. People kind of overlook that a little bit in the college baseball world, I think, because I think he's the only one that can speak for that. But I think in talking to other Big 12 programs, just what I've heard over the last couple months, it sounds like everybody expects Texas Tech to kind of be 1 year away. I think people think about Texas Tech and Baylor in very similar ways, where you're in the state of Texas, you're bound to strike into the right amount of talent sooner rather than later. And it's clear that Texas Tech is not on the right track at this particular second.
They're not. Because it felt like
the lack of pitching is very apparent in Lubbock the last few seasons.
Yes, and it's going to be apparent there this year, where when you get into those Big 12 slug outs, you're going to question, does Texas Tech have that back end of the bullpen arm to maybe shut down a lineup for an inning or two? I don't think they have that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, but it is only September. You never know who could emerge over the next few months. I'm sure we'll hear more from Texas Tech and see what there maybe is to get excited about in Lubbock. Andrew, any other scrimmages? I know that Cincinnati and Purdue dueled this weekend is into 7.5 inning, calling it not two separate scrimmages, but they were just 15 innings, but they were broken up into two halves. Sounds like a lot of the names that we know about with Cincinnati, Jack Natali, Nathan, last name escaping me, great pitcher. Nathan, what are we doing here? Nathan Taylor, of course. Nathan Taylor, great pitcher, probably the best in the Big 12. His slider, again, is still working. Struck out 4 in the first inning. From what I've heard, that means that the catcher dropped the third strike, Andrew. Unfortunately, in the interim, Purdue did strike on him, so there was a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde for him for just a second, but that's really out of character. It sounds like the offense is pretty exciting for the Bearcats. They're really excited about freshman Enzo Infelice. That's going to be a name to monitor up in Cincy this year. The Sefik brothers really look good again. It feels like kind of similar to last year. When you would tune into Cincinnati, it'd be, okay, are they going to score 15 runs? Or are they going to give up 16? It might be a case of that again, but they have some exciting pitching to go with that as well. You talk about maybe the best arm in the Big 12 and Nathan Taylor, and I could tell you that other programs were chomping at the bit to try and steal Nathan Taylor out of Cincinnati, but he wants to be a Bearcat. Freshman Chad Brown is going to be named a monitor to slide into that rotation for the Bearcats. So the depth may not be there for a total super regional run for the Bearcats, but they went ahead and defeated Purdue across 2 7-inning contests, 2 7.5. Purdue beat him the first 7.5, and then Cincinnati beat him the second 7.5. But the way Cincinnati's spinning that is we won. I'm sure Purdue's going to call it a split. But that kind of leads us to our next topic of the value of fall scrimmages. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yes.
Andrew, I kind of touched on it pretty well, not to brag, but any tidbits from Cincinnati Purdue for you, or any other scrimmages that you wanted to touch on?
I want to hit on Cincinnati quickly because Cincinnati is very interesting because this was a team that went into Lindsey Nelson last year and slugged it out with Wake Forest. That was probably I don't want to say the most exciting game. No, because there were some upsets. Outside of the upsets, that Wake Forest Cincinnati game was probably the best game on the opening day of regionals last year. So the offense was always there for Cincinnati. Now with Nathan Taylor developing a little bit more, you're talking about guys just going like taking it year by year. You know, freshman year you're not going to always have a kid like what's the kid Jack Oman at Yale. Jack Oman went 11-0 and dominated in the Ivy. I get it, it's the Ivy, but it's still D1. Well, you're not going to have a freshman that comes in and just dominates right away. It's going to take them a year or two. So I think Cincinnati is going to be a top 4 team in the Big 12 again, and I could definitely see them making a deep run in a regional. If the offense can keep on clicking and we see some more pitching development, I think they can be another team to watch. Maybe sneak into a super regional. The other one I wanted to talk about was Georgetown. Georgetown won and tied with Virginia, but like I said, didn't count. These scores don't count. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Georgetown outscored Virginia in 14. It doesn't say how many innings they played. I'm going to assume they played 14. But the Chris Pollard era in Charlottesville did not start off well, as Georgetown only allowed 5 hits to a Virginia Cavalier team where they bring in a bunch of Duke players that were 1 game away from going to Omaha, and that has probably one of the best players in college baseball in AJ Gracia. So a little red flags are going off in my head right now about, was it windy? Was it cold? Not a lot of photo and video evidence from what I'm finding online. When I talked to a couple people up north and to independent reporter Monty Taylor, they all said the same thing to me. Virginia was very good pitching wise. The bats are going to come around. I'm not worried about Virginia's hitting, but I should be after seeing that. But it also gives me a little bit hope into Edwin Thompson and Georgetown. We're talking about a Big East that is really up for grabs every year. Creighton's got a new coach with Mark Kingston sliding in for Coach Cerveas. You got Jim Ponders at UConn, who's always up and down, up and down. Billy O'Connor at Xavier, who's always, again, up and down, up and down. The Big East is always up for grabs. So if Georgetown if this pitching is legit, and if they can go and build off of this and have a successful fall the rest of the way, Georgetown can be an early favorite for the Big East.
I'm gonna take a second, Andrew. I know that I like to do this every week where I throw some darts at your head. If I was starting a baseball program in my backyard and I could pick any head coach in the country to start, we're talking build a stadium, generate revenue, and put a team on the field. If I could pick any coach in the country, it'd be Jim Penders at UConn. So you watch your mouth.
Well, Jim Penders is the longest tenured, or his staff is the longest tenured staff in college baseball. They were linked to the Virginia job, or was the Virginia? Yeah, it was the Virginia.
It was, but
But they were never leaving. Come on. So yeah, this is a very it's early. It's the first couple weeks. These you got to remember, these teams are in week 3 and 4 of fall practice. A lot of teams usually save their scrimmages for the very end. So,
hey, Andrew, this has my wheels turning. We're gonna get Jim Penders to join us in a future show in the near future, whether we have to pre-record it or have him on live. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you being enlightened about UConn, because once I heard Jim Pender's story, and I don't think we're going to get the full spiel because we really can't do it. I could send you some literature, perhaps.
I love reading, so yes.
But the story of Jim Penders and his staff at UConn and how that program has gone from rubble to not just a good program, but the most beautiful stadium that I've ever laid eyes on. Unbelievable story, and they are UConn men through and through. It makes me want to run through a brick wall. Jim Penders, if you're watching right now, shoot me an email. It's in my Twitter bio. If you're not watching right now, I'll contact your people. Any other scrimmages you want to touch on, Drew?
The last one, Louisville scrimmage with UC Illinois. Or is it Illinois of UC? No,
it's Illinois, Chicago.
Illinois, Chicago. UIC, just like I'm going to say that. UIC. I mean, Louisville. I was waiting from independent reporter Monty Taylor to send me a box score from that, because I guess they did keep score. But from what I'm hearing is Coach McDonald is having this Louisville team primed and ready. We already talked about it on this program once, because Noah is a big Coach McDonald fan. He's a big Coach McDonald fan. How this team's going to be ready and locked and loaded to go and not run through the ACC, but compete seriously in the ACC again and find their way back in Omaha. So I think this team's just going to keep on building. I'm really excited to see how this progresses. So.
Yeah, I think Louisville's in a prime position to go back to Omaha. They return a lot from that team last year. It wasn't that long ago that we were wondering about Dan McDonald's endurance at Louisville. I think back to even 2020 when he and the administration at Louisville were getting into a little bit of a spat about what does attendance look like during COVID. It was 2021, I should say, because you had Kentucky, who was full of attendance, and they were having a fantastic season, and they were able to use their home crowd to win a lot of baseball games. And meanwhile, you had Louisville, who ended up near the bubble, if I recall, in 2021, and you have Dan, who's thinking, why can't we have the fan support that the fans want to come? There are a lot of programs who would kill to have fans want to come to watch them play, and you have Louisville fans who can't go because the university is saying we have this attendance rule for all of our sports, and that's just the way it is right now. But meanwhile, 90 minutes down the road or less, I don't know how far away Kentucky is, might be 45 minutes off the top of my head. Either way, down the road, anybody in the world can go and no issues. So it was quite the dynamic there, and then things only got worse on the field for Louisville for a short time, and then all of a sudden they got hot. Great young talent there. Eddie King, fantastic player. Tag Davis, really great stuff for Louisville, and I think that they have another scrimmage ahead this weekend against, I want to say, Eastern Kentucky. I think it's on Friday. That's a pretty good poll if that's true, and I think that might be it.
It's October 3rd this weekend?
Yep. That's Friday, Eastern Kentucky.
Wow. Ball knower. Yeah,
I just pulled that out of thin air. Yeah, so it's going to be a quick fall scrimmage season for Louisville, but it's a group that doesn't need to get loose. I think they're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I think they're a lot of these teams, like once you play in that scrimmage, you start like itching. You're like, oh god, we're so close. We're edging closer. We're edging closer. We're so close to playing in February again. So I'm getting very excited.
You have to worry about the burnout of competition when you play twice in 1 week and then you don't play again until February. That'd be tough.
What is this, basketball?
Well, Andrew, I think that's a good place to pivot.
The basketball? What?
We've touched on it a little bit. This was something that you more wanted to discuss. This has been a very Andrew-centric show, which has been great for you. The value of fall scrimmages. I have some opinions, but you are a former Division IV college athlete. So why don't you clue us in on, given your expertise, the value of fall scrimmages? I might even just tell you what I think right now. I think that they are more important for depth than anything, and I think that they're great for stirring up fan interest. I don't know how much they actually mean to what's this lineup going to look like 5 months from now. So I worry that a lot of people make assumptions about like Louisville playing twice in 8 days or however much it is, maybe less than that, twice in 6 days.
Well,
Who
I
knows
wanted
what
to
could
start
change.
this off. I wanted to start this off with it's very smart for some of these teams. I'm going to give Texas a shout out here. I'm going to give Texas a shout out here. They're playing their scrimmages during bye weeks. Last week they played it during their football bye week, and this week they got another bye week with playing Florida. So hopefully that doesn't come to bite me in the ass. But yeah, from my expertise, I'm not an expert in this anyway, but I did play college baseball for 4 to 6 years. These fall scrimmages don't really mean a lot. This is just for the coaches to go see what you've already worked on. What's your baseball IQ looking like? That's why I don't like talking about scores when it comes to it, because you have some really egregious scores. Iowa beat a D3 Mississauga, something like that, 33-3 or 31-3. Like, what does that what does that have? Like, it doesn't help anyone out. Like a D1 playing a D. Go, please go.
Iowa does play Missouri in a week or so, and you know what? That Iowa team feels pretty good right now. How about that?
It doesn't matter because Iowa's going to be a good team in the Big Ten this year. Now you go look at Michigan going to play Kellogg Community College, which is named. Shout out to Noah Bieniek of 11.7 for giving me and Noah this fun fact. They are named after Kellogg, the cereal brand. I don't know if he was joking about that.
I have no way of knowing. It's kind of like when It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. When Charlie says all the trash that he burns turns into stars, and they're like, I don't know enough about stars to dispute that. That was a very deep pull. I don't know if he even got that, but
no, I watched him. I love It's Always Sunny.
I'm glad you got that. That's what I thought when Beanie said that. I'm like, yeah, I'll take your word for it.
So back to what I was saying. Michigan, I'm not worried about Michigan giving up 13 runs to Kellogg Community College. Is it a little bit of a worrisome? Yes, because giving up 13 runs in the fall is not always good. They could have been a lot of walks, a lot of weak hits. Not like me and you weren't there. We couldn't tell what happened. The one thing I did like after the Iowa killing, it was two different. They interviewed the head coach, and he basically just said, like, yeah, I love seeing my guys compete. We did some good things. We did some bad things. Like, we're just hoping to translate this into the rest of the fall and to keeping the competitiveness and going. So I think this is a very good thing. I just don't think the scores matter because, one, like, you can go run rule a a mid-major like D3 school and end up being terrible. I'm not saying Iowa's going to be terrible because they won by 28 runs. I'm just saying, like, what good does it do keeping track of the score? Like, I understand we're playing fall scrimmages. We're playing the game of baseball. You're putting on that uniform, unless you're Vanderbilt, and you got to earn that logo somehow. Like you're wearing in that uniform for the first time. This is a lot of the freshmen's first time really putting on that uniform outside of their official visits. So, like, this is their, like, I made it moment for them in the fall. So I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to keep score. I think it's just fun for the coaches to see the progression on what you guys worked on already, to get a good idea of what our starting lineup could be. Like, it's a very like small thing that I just don't think scores matter.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I know that I've told you this before, Andrew, but I've been to a few fall scrimmages where the program knows that I'm there, and they'll come up and tell me, hey, just so you know, we're not going to publicize the score today. And that's what they're really telling me is don't tweet score updates. Now, it's one thing when the Cincinnati did it. I don't think Louisville did it. Who else were we just talking about, Andrew?
Texas did it.
Texas did it.
But that was because they publicized it to a big crowd. They were trying to draw a big crowd.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Gonzaga played Lewis and Clark State, an NAIA in Idaho. Lewis and Clark State is one of the best NAIA programs and one of the best college baseball programs in the history of the sport. Go look them up. I promise you. They are very good. Lewis and Clark could have killed Gonzaga, but we wouldn't have known anything because they didn't publicize the scores. So
and that's fine. That is fine with me.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to going out there to Miami in a couple of weeks and just gonna see these guys compete. Especially being back in Florida now, it's gonna be cool to see some of these kids that I grew up playing with competing. So I can't wait for it.
I'll tell you in my last comment about the not publicizing the score and even being careful to not even include the scoreboard in videos that maybe you take of somebody hitting a home run, like things of that nature. What was I going to say, Andrew? With that, Kansas and Kansas State did that last year, and where they said, hey, the coaches decided that they don't want this publicized. Fantastic. I was tweeting videos. Never once could you tell what the score was. But at the same time, Kansas and Kansas State are meeting again this year. And you mentioned things that make you excited about maybe you lined up with a bye week like Texas did. Kansas and Kansas State play the same day that Kansas and Kansas State play in football. So it lines up with this tailgating atmosphere. It's very cool.
Yeah. It's like if Texas and Oklahoma played a it's like if Texas and Oklahoma played a scrimmage at the Texas County or the Texas Texas State Fair.
Yeah, I'd be all over that. That'd be fantastic. And is it going to have the feel of a huge game? No, but it's not going to have the feel of a scrimmage either. There's going to be fans there. You get to see the out in the outfield, at least at Kansas State, because I'm sure you're very familiar with the layout of Kansas State's campus, Andrew. Right between Kansas State and their baseball stadium and their football field is the parking lot where all the tailgating occurs. So you look out and you see the smoke billowing. It feels like a monster game. Of course, every player in the world knows it's just a fall scrimmage, but that little bit of intensity adds a lot to the excitement, and that only makes your team better when you're playing in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of these fun scrimmages, like Tulane and Ole Miss in a couple weeks, that's a fun scrimmage because those are going to be fun scrimmages because those are two very fun teams to watch. Hopefully the Tulane fans drive up to Oxford to watch it. But yeah, there's some very fun scrimmages. UCF and FIU, they play in Key West this year. I'm still on the fence about wanting to go to that. I don't want to drive down to Key West by myself. So, and I can't take my dog. So, yeah.
Well, shame that the dog can't make the trip. Andrew, we alluded to massive news at the top of the show tonight. Not really news, but more so just stoking the fire. Andrew, you caught some heat for this, even though you did not write the article or break the news or really be involved at all. But Tony Vitello has been linked to the open Giants manager job. There's been some heat on Twitter this afternoon, which was great for the sport. We talked for years about how great Tony Vitello is for college baseball. He's just proving it even more. September 29th, and everybody's talking about Tony Vitello.
So I'll read this tweet that was just tweeted by a much more professional analyst, ESPN. He's a little bit good. Jeff Passan. Bruce Bochy is out as a manager with the Texas Rangers. He might return as an advisor, but he might go back to San Francisco. So let me, first off, I did not write this article. Let's get that clear. I did not write the article. I read the article. I reached out to some people who I happen to know, and they said there's a little smoke here. So I ended up saying that he was linked there. Is he like? I'm gonna read the blurb of what was mentioned of him. The blurb literally says, "Here's one out of the box name who fits the high motor description: Tony Vitello, who transformed the University of Tennessee from a bottom feeder in the SEC into perhaps the brashest and most talented program in the country. It's possible that Vitello and Posey have already spoken. Both were at Coors Field when the Giants played a 3-game series against the Rockies earlier this month." So this is also because Drew Gilbert is on the Giants and Chase Dolander is on the Rockies. So I want to make this clear. I did not write this article. I'm just reporting the news. Am I like, do I care that my tweet did numbers? I don't care. I'm just reporting the news that I heard. The news that I heard is that it is probably going to take a lot for Tony Vitello to go to the Major League Baseball, or to go to the MLB. Is there a chance that he goes to San Francisco? Yes, but if you gave me money, if Noah gave me my paycheck early this week, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go gamble it away," and you gave me the odds for Tony Vitello to go coach for the Giants, I would say he's staying at Tennessee. Why, you may ask? Because at Tennessee, he's already built this powerhouse that it's difficult. We've seen the coaches transition from major league coach to college coach, or major league player to a college coach like Willie Bloomquist. But then you have it's a tough transition, but you're coaching college kids. You're not coaching professional guys. You're not coaching guys that are getting paid $40 million a year. The one example that someone told me was Pat Murphy and the Brewers. He was the Arizona State head coach in the early 2000s, and then was and now he's leading the Brewers as, what are they, the 1 seed in the MLB playoffs? I don't follow the MLB that much anymore, but this is what I will say. If Tony Vitello left Tennessee to go out west, that'd be shocked. But I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. I'm leaving the door open, but it's going to take a lot to pry him away from what he's built at Tennessee. I was talking to someone about it today, and like, even if Tony does leave, they do have a successor there already ready. Josh Elander. Josh Elander was linked to the Mississippi State job, and he could have easily taken that Mississippi State job and done very well with it. I'm not saying Elander was offered the job. I don't even know if he interviewed for the job. So seeing Tony V linked to Giants is a little. It comes out of left field. Comes out of left field because why would you bring a guy from Knoxville, Tennessee to San Francisco, California? But what Buster Posey is looking for in a manager there is someone that can light a fire under people. With Bruce Bochy getting fired from the Rangers, him going to the Giants doesn't really make any more sense because you don't want to be hiring someone much older where coaches are getting younger and more livelier as we're seeing now. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Here's my whole thing with it, Andrew, and I can sum it up quite easily. The major league level is a players first. This goes for all sports. Pro sports are player centric for the most part. Maybe like Bill Belichick is maybe the exception, but otherwise you are building around players. You're building around a quarterback in the NFL. You're building around players in the NBA, and you're building around a lineup in Major League Baseball. In college, you're building around a coach. Tony Vitello is Tennessee. Tennessee is not Drew Gilbert. Drew Gilbert was a great part of Tennessee baseball lore. Right now, when you think of certain programs, Jay Johnson at LSU, Dylan Cruz is great. Paul Skeens is great. Jay Johnson has won 2 rings. So I think that college sports are coach focused and way more beneficial for a coach to stick around in as opposed to taking a chance on the pro league where if your players don't play well enough, you are a sacrificial lamb in that. You can't really control it because you don't sign the players.
Yeah, and I just think it's like I said, I just report the news. He was linked to it by someone that covers the Giants. He covers the Giants for The Athletic. The Athletic is a little bit more prestigious than any college reporting station, even more reputable than On3 is, and they're pretty damn reputable. So I like it's also weird because this is the first time in recent history, Noah, you can stop me if I'm wrong, where we see a coach get interest like right off the bat. Like we're in the middle of fall season. Like Tony Vitello woke up this morning and went to practice. I don't think Pulmonary ever had major league teams knocking on his door. I don't think Wes Johnson made the jump from Twins pitching coach to LSU pitching coach because Jay Johnson got this guy that loves America to come pitch for him. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting jump.
I think the timeline of college baseball and Major League Baseball and how they don't line up makes it very hard for a college baseball coach to jump to the next level. Yeah. I don't think you get into college baseball coaching if you want to coach in Major League Baseball. You could argue vice versa, maybe. Like you think of certain guys that you mentioned, Sean McGrath started at the minor league level. He didn't want to come to the college level necessarily, but the right way opened, and he ended up now coaching at 2 different institutions at the college level. But I think it's way harder to go up, per se. I actually would, of course, believe it or not, rather coach at the college level than the pro level. I think recruiting is an aspect of the job that you either love or hate, and if you hate it, you don't go anywhere near it, and you go pro. I think Tony Vitello loves recruiting. There's a reason that you think of coaches like Jay Wright in basketball, Virginia's head coach not too long ago in basketball, Mac Brown to an extent. He was more performance, but coaches who get exposed to NIL and think, no, this isn't for me anymore. Clearly that's not Tony Vitello. The guy's succeeding. You don't think Wes Johnson, who used to be at the major league level, I believe, is going to go to go manage the Twins next year. I don't think he's going to make that move. So I think that the timeline of college lines up, and also the mentality that you have to be a college coach. It just doesn't mesh well at the pro level, unlike the other 2 sports. I would say that the other 2 sports the timeline makes it very common almost, where the NBA season ends in June or July or even May, depending on how bad your team is, you're not robbing a college of their head coach. You can go higher below if that opportunity arises. The NFL, the timeline is much simpler. Baseball doesn't allow for that, and that's probably a good thing for our level of sport.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like people also got to remember this. The MLB season just ended yesterday. The Giants might not name a head coach till January for all we know. Tony Vitello is a little how do I say this? He's a very attention to detail. So I don't even think he's thinking about this right now. If his agent if his agent is doing this for a ploy to get him an extension, good for him. I'm not saying that I was helping out an agent. I didn't report this. I don't have that kind of major league tie, but I don't it's gonna be very hard to see him going anywhere and because he's a very locked in guy. If you go try and I've seen ESPN and SEC network reporters try and go talk to him before games on Friday nights, and he's so locked in to just warming his guys up. The minute he walks in with the Tennessee director of nutrition. Seems like the nicest guy ever, but he's also the most intimidating guy ever. He walks in with him, and from there on out, it's all about the game. And I wouldn't be shocked about that if it's like that in practice either. So, yeah, that's all I got on it. If we wanted to do percentages, I would say 80% he stays, 20% he goes.
I'll go 95-5.
Yeah, I mean.
Andrew, anything else you want to talk about before we close out this week on the bandwidth?
I want to give a shout out to Little Rock. They just announced they are renovating their baseball facilities. That's a huge win for them. This is a team that they were another big story in the NCAA tournament, their conference tournament. They were the only team to enter postseason baseball under 500, and they nearly found a way to a super regional, taking LSU to that decisive final game on Monday. So I think this is a big win for mid-major sports. I think it's a big win for Little Rock. I think it's a big win for mid-major sports. And I saw the photos, and I'm very excited to see this come to fruition. Big shout out to Chris Curry.
Yeah, Chris Curry did a great job there, and the staff is exciting. And he did send me their fall scrimmages, so I appreciate that plug. We'll see if I go see the Trojans down in Fayetteville. Yes, Andrew.
Do you have any plans to go see any scrimmages this week? We should interact with our fans.
I don't believe anything imminent. I don't know if there's any around me. I've been bad about that. I have a list of them all somewhere. I know D1 Baseball has the giant list, but I have a list of pertinent ones around me. I don't think there's any coming up too terribly soon. I think we're still a little too northeast for me, even though there's been some sprinkled in, but nothing yet.
Are you going to Nebraska and Nebraska Omaha next week?
I wanted to say that I had a conflict. I can't recall what it is. Is that on the 4th, Drew?
It's 11 days from now.
Okay, so it's that one's a maybe. I will probably be at a scrimmage of some sort. That's a very busy time for me. So around that period of time, we have Arkansas hosting 2 scrimmages against Little Rock and Dallas Baptist. We also have Kansas hosting Bradley on the 11th, and we also have Nebraska hosting Omaha. So I will be at a baseball field that weekend, guaranteed. But I do not know where, and I'm not going to commit where.
You're not going to Creighton and Nebraska Omaha this week?
I will look into that. I went to that last year, and I enjoyed it. Creighton should be hosting it this year, right?
Nebraska Omaha's hosting it.
Really? Okay. I was there when they hosted it last year, and I did enjoy that ballpark.
because I'm trying to see if anyone wants to host one in Florida for right now, but no, everyone's in a couple weeks. Yeah, I might be going to a UNO scrimmage. They're doing October 8th. I think they're scrimmaging my former alma mater, actually, Loyola New Orleans. Shout out Coach Gibson, Coach Mendoza at UNO. So,
Well,
but yeah,
that sounds like a good way to end, Drew. Always a pleasure. We will catch you guys in a week.
go Vols.